Hello! It's the start of another new series on my channel, and I'm actually not sure right now what I'm going to call this one, so hopefully the title will tell you. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm reading 5 books by an author that I've never read a book from before to see whether or not I get on with their writing style and their genre, and I'm kicking it off with Christina Lauren, which I realise is 2 authors, but they write together. And I've just been really in the mood for romance books, really, and Christina Lauren is a pretty popular romance writing duo, so I thought that that would be a good place to start. My TBR for this challenge is going to be Rumi's autobiography, Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, My Favourite Half Night Stand, and The Unhoneymooners. And I believe that that is the correct order because I plan to read these in publication order because I don't think it's really fair for me to start with potentially their newest book and work backwards. I think it's more fair to start with their oldest book and then read the things that they've written more recently, because in terms of quality they've got more experience now than they did when they first started. So this is the order I'm going to be reading them in. This one in particular I've really been wanting to read for some time, so I'm excited for this author testing challenge thing. Let's see what happens. So I've been completely useless at updating this author trial video because I've now finished all 5 Christina Lauren books, and I fully intended to update you after each book, but I didn't. Having said that, in hindsight, I think this actually works better because now that I've read all 5 of the books, I feel like I have a really good sense of their writing style. I can give you synopses for all of them and compare them to each other. So it happened by accident, but I think that this is a better way of doing these videos anyway, but do let me know what you think. So the first book I read was Rumi's, which is essentially a fake dating trope, but really it's a fake marriage trope. So Holland has this crush on this busker called Calvin, and Holland's uncle also runs a musical, and when the lead violinist leaves the musical they need a new lead musician, and Holland kind of suggests Calvin, but Calvin is Irish and he doesn't have the right to live in the US, so they get married so that he gets a green card and so that he can take the job at the musical. So it's a fake marriage trope, and this one is incredibly cute. Holland really lacks self-confidence and self-belief, which is incredibly relatable, and Calvin just loves music and wants to play music, and it's his dream to be on Broadway, and so when he's given that opportunity he jumps at it. But of course these are all romance novels, so I don't think it's spoilers to say that things get romantic. This one is a little steamy in places. None of these books are smutty, so there aren't necessarily explicit sex scenes, which I personally enjoy in books, so I kind of missed those a little bit in this, but it's still incredibly cute. There's still a little bit of drama and angst in this one. It's like relationship drama and angst, but I really enjoyed it. And I should mention that this one, along with the majority of the others, is an adult romance book. This is the only one that isn't, and it's the next one I read, Autobiography, which is YA, and it is also an LGBTQIA plus story about Tanner, who is a bisexual boy who has moved to a part of the United States that is predominantly Mormon, and he falls in love with a Mormon boy. And so the drama in this one comes from that very strict religious culture, and it's much more of a coming of age story. I did like this one, not as much as some of the others. I think that if I'm going to read I picked up these 5 because I wanted romance books, and this one is much more of a coming of age and coming out story. So I don't have a problem with that. I do like those stories, but I was looking for a romance book, which is not precisely what this is. It does have that in it, and again there are a few steamy scenes, but it's also YA, so it's not quite as graphic in terms of the relationship stuff as I perhaps would have liked. There's also a section in this towards the end that really frustrated me, and I feel like I want to talk about that a little bit here. So if you haven't read this one and you don't want to be spoiled for anything, then please skip ahead. I will put spoilers on the screen so you will know once I've stopped talking about spoilers. That will come back off the screen. So tap ahead a little bit if you don't want any spoilers. But in this one, Tanner and the love interest, Sebastian, break up at one point, and Tanner is absolutely devastated about it, and he goes to his best friend's house, Autumn, to tell her all about it, to finally tell her that he was even in a relationship with Sebastian and turn to her for comfort. And they end up having sex, and she was a virgin, he wasn't, and she's had a crush on him for years, and he doesn't like her that way. They've explored it. His feelings towards her are entirely platonic. Not because he's gay, he's bisexual, he can be attracted to women, it's just that he sees Autumn as his friend and not as a potential lover. And then after the sex, it's really awkward, which is realistic and understandable, but then he goes and apologises to her for taking advantage of her, and the story is very much spun in the sense of he's taken advantage of her, but I entirely disagree. He went to her as his friend for comfort, and he was upset, he was crying, and she comes on to him fully in the knowledge that he doesn't see her that way, that he's devastated about the fact that his boyfriend has just broken up with him, that he's upset generally, and he's vulnerable, and she takes advantage of him, not the other way around. So, and I mean, at one point Autumn does cop to that, but she says that they've both taken advantage of each other, and I just don't agree at all. And I think that that's very reminiscent of society's view about the abuse relationship between men and women, and I really did not like the way that was dealt with in this, and I don't actually think it's Christina and Lauren's fault. I think that they were just bowing to societal pressures, and I don't like that. I think it would have been a perfect opportunity actually to address the fact that no, in that situation it was a woman taking advantage of a man and sexually abusing him actually, because he didn't go there for that, but she took advantage of the situation and had sex with him because that's what she wanted. And then she played on his emotions even more to make him feel like it was his fault. So no, that's not okay, that's problematic. I especially don't like to see things like that in a YA book, because I feel like it's just not a good message to be giving. So decidedly mixed feelings on this one basically. So we're keeping it on brand. My camera battery died, and naturally I didn't have another one that was charged, and rather than sit around in my work clothes and wait for my batteries to charge, I got changed into my PJs and I've had dinner. But I'm now back, even though for you it's a couple of seconds later. Anyway, the next one I read was Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, which I think is quite possibly my favourite out of the 5. This one is just unbearably cute, and I really enjoy the dynamic between Josh and Hazel. So Hazel is a character who is fairly unashamedly kooky in terms of her personality. She's very forthright, she's perfectly aware of the fact that she's a little bit odd, but she owns it and she loves being that way, and she doesn't really care what people think. And then we have Josh, who she met for the first time in university, and then she met him again later in life, and they become really great friends. But they've both not got much going on in their love lives, so they start setting up blind dates for each other and going on double dates for those blind dates with each other, and of course they start to fall for each other instead. And it's adorable and it's realistic. Hazel has always had a little bit of a crush on Josh because he's gorgeous, but she knows that she's so weird, so she doesn't think that that's really what Josh is going to be into. And then because of that, she's really good at hiding her feelings, so Josh doesn't know whether she has feelings for him or not. And just the dynamic between the two of them is so great. It's clearly a best friends to lovers trope, which I actually really enjoy. I think that's possibly the most realistic trope in romance books, and this one was just really fun and cute, and I really liked it. Then I went for my favourite half night stand, which is probably tied with Autobiography for my least favourite of the 5 books that I read. I still enjoyed it, I just didn't love it. There was just a little bit too much drama in this one. There was just a little bit too much. Just talk to each other, for goodness sake. So this is another one of the friends to lovers tropes, but in this one, Millie and her group of friends, including Reed, are looking for dates for a university event that's coming up. They all work and teach and research at a university, and because they all need dates, they decide that they're all going to set up dating profiles on an internet dating website to find themselves these dates. And Millie sets up a profile using her middle name instead of her first name, and she ends up connecting with Reed. And at first she's doing it as a joke, but eventually feelings start to form, especially following them having had sex after one of their evenings together as a friend group. So this one's kind of friends to lovers too, but then there's this whole almost like a fake dating trope as well, but in that she's essentially catfishing him. And I don't know, I think this one just took the relationship drama a little bit too far for me, because they were really good friends, and they were already having sex, so I don't understand why they couldn't just talk to each other. Comparing it to Josh and Hazel's, they are good friends, but there's not really any obvious sexual tension there, at least not to the characters from the beginning, whereas these two characters have sex in literally the first 2 chapters of the book, so it just got a little bit frustrating, especially because this book is quite long. It's 367 pages. I say long, it's not long as books go, but it's long as romance books go, and especially when the angst is all the way from the beginning, it just got a little bit boring after a while, and I was just practically screaming at the pages, please do the two of you just have a bloody conversation already. And then Unhoneymooners, which was the most recent release and the main book by Christina Lauren that I was keen to read. In this one, Olive's twin sister Amy gets married, but unfortunately the entire wedding party get food poisoning apart from herself and Ethan, the groom's brother, who she hates. So this is a hate to love romance, and Olive and Ethan, go on the honeymoon together. They have to pretend to be married for a bunch of reasons that I won't go into, it's not important, but it's hate to love. And I actually really enjoyed this one, and I enjoyed how refreshing it was, because all of the drama in this book did not come from the relationship. There was a little bit of relationship drama, but it wasn't the main focus of the drama in the book, and I actually really appreciated that, especially having read 4 other romance books just before this one. It was really nice to have a romance book where the romance wasn't the main source of conflict in the story. There were some family dynamic things going on that caused the majority of the conflict and various other plot issues that the characters were dealing with, but the relationship itself wasn't the main issue in the story, and I really appreciated that. I think that there need to be more romance books that depict healthy relationships where people help each other through difficult situations. I get that a book has to have some level of plot, there has to be some sort of conflict that the characters have to overcome, but in romance books, does that always have to be the relationship? Or could it be that there are other things happening in the lives of the 2 components of the relationship and they help each other through it as 2 healthy people would in a relationship? You know what I mean? Is that just me? Is it just because I read 5 romance books in a row? I don't know, but I feel like there should be more of that, okay? That's my opinion on it. So, in summary, I actually really enjoyed this little experiment. I've been wanting to pick up a Christina Lauren book for a while, so why not pick up 5 straight away? That seems like a great idea, but actually it was. I really enjoyed myself. I think that the reading order I chose was definitely the right decision. I did decide to read them in publication order, which was the right choice, I think. It's really difficult to pick a favourite because I liked them all for very different reasons. Like I mentioned, Autobiography and My Favourite Half Night Stand are my least favourite, but Rumi's Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating and The Unhoneymooners were all really enjoyable. I actually read Josh and Hazel's the quickest. I read that just in a day. Rumi's I read in 2 days, and I think Unhoneymooners I read in 2 days as well. So they were all super quick reads too. Would I pick up another Christina Lauren book? Yes, absolutely. Am I still interested in reading more and getting more or back into reading romance books? Yes, absolutely. Do I want some smut? Yeah, absolutely. But I really enjoyed this, and I hope that it helped you in some way. If you've read any Christina Lauren, let me know. Let me know which ones you've read and what you thought of them, or if you plan to pick one of these up now that you've seen this video, let me know that too. That would be great. And if you have any other authors that you want me to do one of these author trial videos for, then let me know that too. Leave me all the ideas and all the thoughts and all the comments in the comments section. But that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks!